some of the things I've seen and heard, they will last in my memory forever, and I'd rather not have them memories. But I'll deal with them in my way. I'm older and I'll deal with them my own way. So long as I can make sure that I do my utmost to help people when I am there, and the children in particular, and the old and the vulnerable.
In this episode, I spoke with Angie Sutcliffe, someone who has shown extraordinary humanity and bravery going out time and time again to support people in Ukraine from the outset of the war and the start of the conflict. This includes supporting civilians, soldiers, and also children as well. So it's really heartening, and I was often speechless during this podcast episode and nearly broke down in tears as well, hearing the stories. Angie effectively was going into conflict zones to go and help the people in Ukraine, and some of the stories she shared is just just blew me away. And Angie's been supporting kids and bringing smiles to kids through dressing up as Peppa Pig. She's an actress, and she's during those times where she's gone back and forth. She's been able to bring so much joy and taking the minds off the horrors that have been happening in Ukraine.
Then I dressed up as a dinosaur because I've got a big inflatable dinosaur suit that somebody kindly gave me, and I went down and let the children chase me, and they were pulling my tail and everything, and the squeals of delight and the smiles, it was like winning the lottery a million times over. It was wonderful.
So it was an amazing episode. Privileged to hear his story. Let's dive into the episode. Angie, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 4 of season 1, and it's great to have you on. Last time we spoke and met was at the British Citizen Awards at the House of Lords at the Palace of Westminster. What a absolutely amazing day that was. We were table buddies. We were on the same table enjoying afternoon tea. And the celebrations on that day. It was an incredible day. Let's dive straight in with that point. How did you find the British Citizen Awards? And of course, you were also honoree as well.
I absolutely loved the whole day. I had my son and my friend with me, Richard and Jean, and they enjoyed it as well. Not only the meal, but the fact that there were so many wonderful people there, which was so deserving of the award. And sorry, my dog's just come in.
Good timing.
Yeah, my dog is
That's
just
right.
come
They
in.
can join us.
Yeah, go sit down,
Join us as
Smudgy.
well.
You see if I've got treats. He's after my water. Just put it there. Lie down.
It's normal now in our virtual world of working and calls.
If I shut the door, he would scratch at it. So you sit down.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day at the awards ceremony. I was very humbled because, like you, we do things because we want to help, not for any reward. It's intention, not attention. So it was a bit, even though I'm an actress, being in the limelight kind of, it felt I shouldn't be there. It felt like I wasn't worthy compared to a lot of other people, because there's a lot of people out there that have done far more than I have. But I was honoured to receive the medal. And I think more so that I can highlight Ukraine and what's still going on there that's not on the news. So, yeah. It was brilliant. Some of the people that I've met, including yourself, it just blew me away.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. But equally, if not more, you have done some incredible work, and I think all of us have made contributions in our own ways. And the work that you've been doing, going out several times now to Ukraine to support, it was supporting soldiers, supporting young people and families, etc. Is just it's unimaginable. It's it's incredible work that you've been doing. Before we dive in to some of that, I'd love to learn, and please tell us about a bit of background. Who is Angie Sutcliffe? And your acting that you've been doing, and how did you get started in volunteering as well?
Okay, well, I was originally Angie Hurst. That was my maiden name. I'm married. I'm Angie Sutcliffe, and I've got two sons who are both now fathers, because my older son's got two children, Hallie 5 and Charlie's 3 in November. And my other son, James, and his wife had a baby Saturday just gone. So we've got a
Oh,
brand new
amazing!
baby.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great
They
news.
named him Reuben after my late father. So,
Oh,
mum
that's
and
really
dad,
sweet.
yeah, my mum was called Edith, and my granddaughter's middle name is Edith. So both names have been kept going. Um, as well as my brother Austin. His name is actually it's the second name from Reuben Austin as well, and Charlie Austin. So we kind of keep the family names going. And I'd like to think they're always with us. Growing up, I always wanted to do modelling and acting and all the glamorous things, and I ended up working in a factory. That was my first job. Um, but over the
Got to start
years,
somewhere.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
obviously.
over the years, I've done lots and lots of different jobs, but I've always liked acting, and so I got a job as a tour guide at Coronation Street, which I absolutely loved. And when that closed, I thought I'll do a little bit of training. So I went to Act Up North, did some acting training, did some student films and some background work so that I could get used to camera angles and all the different things that they say, like rolling and resets and things
Yeah,
like that and action. But over the years, I've also always wanted to help people. So even as a child, myself and my late sister Sandy, we used to knock on people's doors and ask if they've got any old clothes because we're going to do a pantomime. And we'd get my mother's sheets and put them over the washing line, and we'd do a little play. And we used to charge everybody probably about a penny or something like that. And the money would then go to charity. But we got some really nice clothes out of it as well.
yeah,
um, but as we grew up, um, I felt I needed to do more. So I've worked in various different charity shops. I've worked for different charitable organisations. If there's anything that needs doing, I try and get involved. So yeah, I've done a lot of charity work over the years, because there's nothing nicer than receiving a smile when you've done something nice for somebody. That's worth more than all the money in the world, to see a smile
mm.
and make people feel a bit
It's a
happier.
reward in itself,
Yeah,
isn't it? So your journey of volunteering started quite early on
yeah,
and
yeah,
helping people.
yeah,
I've been fascinated with the stuff you were saying about learning the process and uh, within acting and setup. So I'm certainly fascinated by the process of filmmaking, and I've been starting to experiment here and there with things absolute proper amateur. But that's really fascinating. What were the was it what has been your kind of favorite roles that you've been doing within your
Oof.
acting?
I think there was one called a film that I was in that's not actually been finished yet. It was called the Ballad of Lucy Sands. There's a very small role in it, but it's a true story about a young girl from Ireland who
Okay,
unfortunately lost her parents, and her and her brother moved over to near the lakes. And the gentleman who wrote the story had a dream, and the dream became reality because he turned it into a film. And when he actually looked at did some research, he found out that what his dream had been about was real, because he
yeah,
had a dream. This lady kept saying, young girl kept saying, "My name's Lucinda. Please help me." And then she said, "It's Lucy. It's Lucy." And he researched, and she was actually murdered. And the story is
okay,
about trying to give Lucy some peace after all these years. So I enjoyed doing that. But also, there was one that we filmed over in Flambards called Peace in Our Time, and it was about the children that weren't evacuated during World
okay.
War Two and their stories. And I was playing the mum of the main character, and I just loved doing that. It's great. I've done some stunt work as well, a few years back now, but I
Yeah, yeah.
enjoy doing that. Somersaults off roofs, and a bit of free
No way.
running, advanced weapons training, sword work and wire work,
Wow.
stuff like. I can still do it, but I'm not allowed to,
Yeah.
because unfortunately I've got osteoporosis now, so I can't do that. So
All
something I
right.
might break a bit.
That sounds so fun and dangerous, dangerous a bit as well. Oh, that's right. Ah, so you kind of what's the phrase? something of all trades. What's that phrase?
Jack of all
So,
trades, master of
that's
none.
it.
Yeah,
And Angie
yeah,
of all trades. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
So you started off volunteering quite early. What did you go on to do next? I think you was there some was it in volunteering in Bulgaria, was it, or Poland?
Romania.
Romania,
It
sorry.
was, in,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've done other things before that, like
Mm.
for the local churches, doing the normal car washes, stuff like that. And then I went to North Yorkshire, and the padre there was asking all the mothers and the mothers and toddlers group if anybody could help raise funds for a wagon to go over to Romania with aid for orphanages and hospitals. So I said, right, well, what can I do? What can I do? So I had, right, I have long, well, I had actually very, very curly hair then, and I had my head shaved live on TV, and we raised, I think it was about £800.
Oh, no way.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Back then, I probably didn't look too bad, but I've had my head shaved 3 times, and the last time I had it done, my son, because I was doing it live so that people could see, the hair's being donated to
Yeah.
the Children's Trust for making wigs. But when I had it done the last time and I was live, my son put on a little comment, Mum, if you lean into the camera and say, Harry Potter, I'll give you £5 extra. So he's calling me Voldemort,
Just
really.
£5.
Cheeky devil. Well, he'd already sponsored me before for that
That's
as well.
oh,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah.
That
But
that is amazing.
when I had it shaved then, the padre took the money over and he asked me, did I want to go? And I said, well, I've got no skills. I could drive then. I'm not allowed to now, but I could drive then. But I wasn't a doctor or a nurse. And I felt that if they're going to take somebody, it should be somebody that had skills. And his words kind of made me think more because he said,
Yeah.
Angie, the biggest thing you can give is to hugs and to care. And you do. And but on that trip I didn't go. But then when we moved to Germany, there was a group there called the Larbrook Romanian Organisation, and a gentleman called Red, we always called him Red, that was part of it, found out through my husband because he was his boss, asked him about it and said, right, your wife is coming with us. And kind
Mm.
of didn't give me much choice. So I went and it changed my life because seeing the children with nothing. And also there was a lot of abuse and a lot of red tape to get through and backhanders. They were always after getting stuff off you and that. Um,
Yeah.
Gladly it's changed. Well, hopeful it's changed now. But there was things that had gone missing, so that's why we went. Rather than sending it over, we went over and give it to the people ourselves. And we went to hospitals and did repairs. We made sure all the children had clothes and took food and everything. We played football with them. And I can say I've got 252 children because the children over there's 250 in one orphanage, all
Yeah.
called me Angie Mama. So I've got two of my own here and I had 250 there. So we went quite a few trips over there. But then we needed to raise more money. So I thought, what can I do that reflects their plight? Rather than do a sponsored walk or a bath in beans, I was scared of flying, so I asked if I could be stood on the wings of the plane and and fly
Oh
and
God.
raise money for that. And before I knew it,
I
because I
hope you
was
were strapped in.
well, you do kind of get something fastened around your waist. You are stood on
Oh,
it.
I think I've seen
Um,
it. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it
How
goes inside you.
fearless.
Yeah, but I must admit, I was
Yeah.
absolutely terrified because
Oh, I
I'd
can't
seen the
imagine.
wing walkers. They do unclip themselves and climb onto another wing, and they did ask me if I
Yeah.
wanted to do that, and I was like, no, 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 no.
Oh my God.
And they
How
did
high,
ask me.
how high did you fly? How high
I
does it
didn't.
go?
I'm not sure, but everybody looked like ants. That's all I can say. They looked like little
Oh my
tiny
God.
ants. And we didn't do a loop the loop
Yeah.
because that was the first time on the wings, and I thought, no, no. But I raised £8,000
Wow.
for charity then for the Romanian group. And I was very honoured to, well, actually, I was like, I didn't want it, but I was called into this big room a few months later and given a certificate, and they put me forward for an award for the Queen's New Year's Honours List. So I was
Okay.
actually in that, and I got the certificate. I think I'm not sure of the initials because to be honest,
Is
I
it the
was like,
British Empire Medal?
no, no, it wasn't a medal. It
Oh,
was a certificate. It was
okay.
HNC and C something. I'm not sure. I'll have to
Oh, okay, got
look
you.
it up.
Okay, okay.
But it was, yeah, it was the Queen's New Year's Honours list, and I was, in this and got this certificate and whatnot, and I was like, oh wow. Um,
Wow, amazing.
but I don't know where the certificate is because I think I've put it in a drawer. Shouldn't really, but
I
it
was
was.
looking for my birth certificate the other day. I can't find it.
No. Oh, you need that. Yeah, yeah. Well, you'll have to pay for a new one otherwise.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's the reward of seeing people's faces when you've helped them, and they're so grateful for the little things because we have
yeah.
far more in the UK than a lot of other countries, and it's it's very humbling to see children so appreciative of something tiny when we've got so much, so
Mm.
that spurred me on as well. So yeah, I
How
went
did
on to
it
do other
how did it
things.
make you feel helping that many kids? And in the moment, what were you thinking? What was it going through?
I wanted to bring them all home because they orphans, they didn't have mums and dads, and you do kind of get attached to quite a few of them. There's some that you will you could have quite easily gone go away. And there's this little boy, and I don't blame him whatsoever because he had lived a very very tough life on the streets most of the time, and when he come to hug you, you had to check that your phone was still there, and even your rings on your fingers. He's like, "Oh," and I had to get off. No, no, but he was still one of my favourites. There's times when I was like, "Oh my word," it's so encourageable as they call him. Um, yeah, but they've had a tough life, and I'm not excusing what I'm stealing from us, but when I said to him, "Why do you do it?" he said, "Because I have nothing and I don't know when you're going to come back again. So I make whatever I can get last me."
Yeah,
And he said, and also, because I actually visited a children's prison, which I was very, very shocked. Children's prison, and it was very
okay.
nice in there, but the children were locked up for committing crimes like stealing and things. And I went with my friend Lily, who was Romanian, and she translated. And we talked to this young boy and asked him, "Why do you steal?" And he said, "Because if I steal and they arrest me, I get a roof over my head," which really was, saddened me that that's
It
what he's
just
got to
yeah,
do because there were nowhere for him. So he stole
just a
so that if he could go back
mm,
inside again. You see,
sounds like a matter of survival, and
yeah,
maybe what could be going through his mind is what's the difference between the orphanage and or not getting any support outside, and
yeah,
then a roof over his head. That's
yeah,
really harrowing
mm,
to think
yeah,
about. It just really brings you down to earth, doesn't it?
yeah.
Get
Well,
back to reality.
there was
Mm,
when we gave clothes out, we'd go to different places and unload the bags and give the stuff to the people. But we used to drive through blocks of empty flats. They were derelict, no windows, no electric, no nothing in them. And as we did, the gentleman that was in charge would beat the horn, and everybody come running from nowhere. And it was Romany gypsies over there, and they were living in these empty shells of blocks of flats, but they weren't nothing in them. There was just empty, the concrete. And they all came running, and we had to throw the bags out the back. And I said, "That's inhuman. Why? Why can't we stop and give it them?" And I was told, "Well, you can't because they are very desperate people. They don't get any help from the government. They don't get financial or anything. They don't even get jobs because going back to Ceausescu time, apparently, from what I've been told and for the history of it, if you were different in any way to his norm, as he thought, you were classed as second class citizens. So if you had like if you had a disability, a leg missing, or if you had even a hair lip, or you were darker skinned, you were classed as a second class citizen, and you got no help, and you weren't allowed to get jobs." And
mm,
it broke my heart. And I said, "We can't just throw the bags out to them. We've got to try and help." But Tony, who was running the the group at the time, said, "We've tried different ways and we can't because we have been stopped sometimes where they've overcrowded the vans and ripped doors off and pulled everything out because they're that desperate. So we can't." And I was a bit naughty. I waited until night time and I climbed out the window of the hostel that we're staying in, because I knew they'd see me if I got the other way. And I'd arranged to meet my other friend, who she had Romani Gypsy family, but she'd married an English teacher, and they were living in a little tiny flat there with her little daughter. So I arranged to meet her, and we got a taxi to the empty flats where everybody lived, empty as in furniture and stuff. And she said, "You do know this is really dangerous going in here?" I said, "Yes, but can you explain? If they hurt me and take my, I had a money wallet thing on. I said, I haven't got money to give them. I said, but if they take my passport or they take anything that I've got, the camera or whatever, then I'll not be able to help, and it's very little, but I will do my best to try and help you." So we went, and her husband at the time, he came with us. And I've got photos of it. I think I've got a small video somewhere as well. When we went in, at first everybody crowded round, and I was scared. And she explained, and they kept saying, "But people have said this before and they've never helped." And I said, "Well, I can't guarantee I will get help, but I will guarantee 100% I will try my best." So we talked to some of them. As we went up the stairs, there was blood on the stairs, and I said, "What is that for?" And my friend said, "Well, it's either fighting or cutting themselves," and you think, wow. And I went into this one little tiny room. It was my friend's sister. And I always remember she had a t-shirt on, and it said, "I am what I am," but with a Y, yam, you know. And it kind of stuck in my head, because she's saying, "I am what I am, but look at what I've got." And she had an old coach seat that had been ripped out from somewhere. That was her bed. And dirty old sheets that they have no water, they can't wash, they can't do anything. There was one big room where everybody just went into and did the business, the toilet and everything. There was rats running around. And the window, there was no window, it's just pieces of plastic that they tried to stick up and went wood on it. And there were children living there as well. And it was just, it was heartbreaking to see them like that, and I came away and I told Tony, and I actually wrote to many different TV stations and said told them what I'd seen, and said I've got the photos. Nobody helped, because they said, "Well, we can't. It's just a bigger problem than us," and nobody seemed interested
Yeah.
in it. So I made it my goal to keep going back, even when the Larbrook group finished and broke up, because the RAF camp was disbanded. Everybody went their different ways. I carried on, and I started flying over on my own and meeting Lily and my other friend and taking stuff for as long as I could. Circumstances after a while meant I couldn't do that. I couldn't go anymore. And I often think about what they went through and whether they did get any help. I'd like to think that they did, and that things are better over there. But then Ukraine has kind of overtaken my life with what's been going on there. And then they've not just got a poor way of living in Ukraine, they've now got a war. And then
Yeah.
there's the war that's going on in Israel, and it's like the whole world. Sometimes I just want to cry.
It's just it's
Yeah,
just devastating, isn't it?
yeah,
Just crisis after crisis. You think,
yeah,
the
yeah,
this, the war in Ukraine and Russia is bad. It's
yeah,
bad enough. How much impact it's had. And now it's just so devastating. What has
yeah,
happened. Um, and the support that you've been giving in Romania, if you're having a significant impact, if there weren't people like yourself, and it's probably rare, unfortunately, going out, then who's gonna they're gonna be forgotten people. Um, and I guess in the UK and other places in the world, it's people will care about or pay attention to what they can see, right? And what's in the media, etc.
yeah,
That's what that's what we're kind of of course, this I'm kind of generalizing there. It's not everyone I'm talking about, but it tends to the media tends to lead on what is it you should be caring about. Oh, this is what you should be shocked about. This is what you should be kind of condemning.
yeah,
Um, so when I was when I met you and was speaking with you and reading about your story, it really struck me that you're going out to these different places and you're not you're not being selective or this you're kind of blind to that. What you don't go is it's these people need some
For
support and
people.
help.
Yeah,
You're putting your humanity first, so that was really incredible to see for me. For me,
thank you.
so,
Well, I look at it as no matter what's going on above the political, the gangs, the terrorists, or whatever it is, it's the people, the ordinary people like you and I, that are suffering. And I don't care where a person is or what religion they are, what country they're from, what sexuality they are, whatever they are. People are people, and everybody should care about each other. And that's what I try to do. I did get a couple of comments after I got the award as a medal. Um, a couple of people said, "Well, what about people at home?" And I said, "Home is the world to me because I don't care where you're from. I'm going to help." I said, "And if you want to say that, I can actually give you examples of what I've done in England as well. Because I've helped many, many children and elderly people over here during COVID. We have a little village called Tottington, is where I'm from, and there's a long trail at the bottom, what they call the lines, and there used to be all railway lines, and people go and they go on the little walks down there, and there used to be these rocks called rammy rocks, and people would paint them and then they'd hide them. Somebody'd find it, then put it on Facebook. But during COVID, of course, you don't want to be touching somebody's stones in case you catch COVID. So somebody, I think it was down south, came up with an idea of painting stones and leaving them with a sign saying, "Add, don't take." Somebody else here took that up and started doing it down on the lines. So it started growing, but some kids were coming sometimes and kicking the stones. And I thought, you know what, it's such a nice idea. It's like a little snake. So I
yeah,
started going down and collecting them. Well, not collecting them as such, putting gloves on and putting them all in a long line rather than just in a group. And it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And then a friend of mine, Andrea, who unfortunately had actually been in hospital for 3 weeks with COVID, and we nearly lost her. Her sister, Claire, she's called. She had been coming down and saying, "I'll help," and we were helping, and we had to stay like a big gap in between us so we could kind of talk to each other. So it's company, and people would walk past on the other side, and they'd say, "Hello, what you doing?" and we'd explain, and the community started coming together. And then when Andrea came out, Andrea is a fantastic painter, and she knew all about how to glaze them. So I bought some gloves, and she would take some home, I'd take some home, and we would glaze them so that they wouldn't peel and stuff like that, and then put them back. And it grew bigger and bigger, and we called it the Totty Snake because we're in Tottington, so it's a Totty Snake. Then we started organising. There's a big field behind it, so we said, right, we're having a theme day on Saturday or Sunday. Come down 2 o'clock, and we've got allocated patches where you can sit with your bubble of family and you can collect the rocks that we've already painted white with sanitised hands and gloves. Collect that and some paints, and off you go, and you paint. And today's teddy bears, or it's princesses, or it's pirates. And then afterwards, we would glaze them all over, put the colour on the top and whatnot, and put them out. And we had themes, and it was so wonderful to see the communities come together. And they started putting stones for babies born in lockdown and little messages that other family that aren't allowed to meet may walk down and see. And
yeah,
sadly, stones in memorial for people that were lost and they couldn't go to the funeral. So they have stones there. And eventually it was 9,000 stones long.
oh my
Wow.
god, wow,
So the Yvonne Wright, the local councillor, managed to get it put in concrete, so it's there permanently. Unfortunately, it should have been covered by resin, and it was kind of
yeah,
bushed on instead of poured on. So the weather has took a lot of it away, but it's still there, and it's lovely to think that everybody came together for that. So
yeah, yeah,
I've helped people here as well, and during COVID, because you couldn't go and see, because a lot of people go to Father Christmas or go to fun lands and things like that, and they couldn't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So in my tiny garden, on one end, I had families come and they'd just come and stand near the front gate, and I'd be at the other end, and I'd already got presents for them on what ages thing. I put the names on and wrapped them with sanitised hands and left them on this table with there was all Christmas display and things. And then I was dressed as Elsa, as Ellie the elf, and I was pretending I was running away from Father Christmas, and I give them the present, then say, I better go and see if Father Christmas wants me. And I'd run back in, come back out as Elsa with the big Elsa head, from Frozen, the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
And we played music, and as she danced and said, let it go, we pressed a button and made it snow on the children, and that was so
Oh
lovely.
wow.
And the children and the parents all said,
That
it's really nice because these children look back and remember that time wasn't all bad, because I think the thing that was missed most was human contact and hugs. There's nothing
yeah,
like a hug, is there? Mm.
yeah, absolutely. And so a few things that you touched on, but I think you know people are people. It doesn't matter where they are, where they're from. A child who's hurt or is crying in Ukraine or Romania or Afghanistan, wherever it is, does that child not hurt just as much as someone
Exactly.
over here? And yeah, and I've got that. What you were saying, why not helping our people? I get that as well. It's an odd one. It's really odd. So I do a lot of work with the food bank. I
Yes.
think we spoke last time.
Yeah.
Mentioned the food bank, and I've been volunteering there for 9 years, so I've done it quite a bit. And then there's some stuff in the media and press about some of the work that I was doing. And I was getting some people saying, why not helping our people?
Well,
So,
we are our people, aren't we?
so I'm from Newcastle. Yeah, I was born and bred in Newcastle.
Yeah.
What some people meant were like, why not helping the Bangladeshis?
Yeah.
I'm like, I was born here. They are my people, firstly, all right, and then there are Bangladeshis that go and access the food bank, but that's not, that is not the point. So it's whether you're helping here or whether you're helping elsewhere. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're making a difference. And sometimes you quite often, yeah, the cynical person in me would say, people who do say that, why not helping you? They're probably not doing anything themselves.
Exactly.
Going off and doing anything
Yeah.
except being. So I think there's a correlation between that. You know, people who are going off and being active and that they're not starting to whinge and be grumpy about, oh, why not helping this group of people and why helping that group of people?
Yeah.
People are people,
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
right? And that your story, of course, is testament and proves that,
Yeah.
shows that
Well,
as well.
I have a
Mm.
friend called Annie, and she's blind. And when I met her, she was blind, and she had a
Yeah.
dog called Mister. Oh, and it, oh, Mister. I can't remember his name now. She'll go mad at me. No, stranger things just go from you. Mr. Quinn, that was it.
I'm
She was
forgetting all the time.
Mr.
Yeah.
Quinn, and unfortunately he died. And no, she's got Miss Ellie, but she's background artist on Coronation Street. So sometimes when I'm watching TV, especially if I know that some of my friends are background artists, I'm kind of listening and watching, but looking in the background, and I'll go, "Oh, there's Annie." Now, when I met her, as I said, she was already blind, and she
Yeah.
said, "Angie, you're such a beautiful person." And I said, "Thank you, Annie." She said, "I bet you're thinking, how do I know? Because I've not seen you." I said, "Well, yeah, it did kind of cross my mind." And she said, "You don't have to look beautiful if you are beautiful, because inside it will come out and you'll look
Mm.
beautiful to everyone." And sometimes I look in the mirror and think, no, I don't think so. I think, well, I'm getting on a bit now. I'm 62 and I'm, getting older roles in my acting life. But then that's a privilege as well to get that age. Some don't live that long. But it was so nice that my friend Annie said that, that she thinks I'm a beautiful person because she knows that I care. And she cares too. She's a really nice person. And yeah, it doesn't matter what, anything at all. If there is someone in front of me and they need help, then I'll help them. And I don't care about anything else, only helping
Mm.
that person. And that's what we should all be like, really.
Yeah. That's an amazing story. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, Angie, tell me about your work in Ukraine. What other things have you been doing out there? The core things that you've been doing there,
Yeah.
and Love to hear some stories, of things you've been doing.
Okay. Well, when the war broke out, and obviously it was all over the news, the local Polish club and Ukrainian club got together and started collecting, and lorries and lorries and lorries were going over with all this aid. And because I used to work in Romania, and I know when we sent things over, sometimes it goes missing because there's always going to be a bad apple. So I wanted to go over and help more and also make sure stuff gets over there. So I first went over and met a group called Love Bristol, which is a church charity. And I helped them feeding refugees that had come out of Ukraine fleeing from the war. Um, and that was very worthwhile. But I wanted to go further. I wanted to, because these people are being helped already. They've come out, they're safe. And I thought, what about the other people that are still in there that can't get out, that have no homes to go to, especially the children and the elderly? Because if it was the other way around and my grandchildren were stuck in a war zone, I'd hope somebody would want to go in and help them. And yes, at first there was loads of big organisations went over, and as people came through from the actual border into Poland, there was lots of organisations there with food and warm drinks and clothes and giving them rides to refugee centres and that. But it soon started to dwindle, and like now the war's still going on, and you don't see it on the news half the time. But I'm in a lot of the groups that I know what's going on, and as we're sitting here, I know the bombing because I get notifications. Um, and there's no big organisation. I think UNICEF was there, but other ones, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of the big charities that people sent money to actually there. And they wouldn't go into Ukraine anyway. A lot of them stayed outside. So the only people going in were volunteers, individuals or groups that have got together and formed a charity to go in. And I thought, and why are you going? You're not a doctor, you can't drive anymore. And the padre from all those years ago, his words were in my mind. And he said, if you can give a hug and make somebody smile, then you're just as worthwhile as anybody else. So I decided I was going to go. So a friend of mine, Wendy, who's been over a few times and does drive, and she's a midwife, she said she was going over to Lviv. And I said, can I come with you? So at the time she was staying in Poland, she'd took some time out from her work and hired a place. So she come and picked me up, and the next day we went into Lviv with a couple of others. And a lot of people had come from the really bad areas more to Lviv because that was a safer area because they were bombing over in obviously Mariupol, they flattened that, Odessa, Kharkiv and places like that. So they came over, but they'd come over with only what they could carry, and they were living in an old schoolhouse, and they didn't have much of anything. And of course, they don't have benefits coming in, like in the UK as well. So there was nothing. So we were taking food and clothes and things like that for them. The third time I went, I decided I didn't want to just stay and do things there. I wanted to go to where the people and the children were stuck, not into the front lines because that'd be silly. If you go to me, if you go to the front lines, then you should be a soldier and you're fighting. But behind the places that had been occupied, and then the Ukrainians are to kick back again. Those places, they're safe in the sense that they're not got soldiers shooting at them, because you don't want to give more work and more stress to the paramedics by being on the front line in shooting range. But there were still bombs going over there. The people in like Bucha, in Kiev, in Odessa, all these different places, in Kharkiv, all these different places have got people that can't come out, or they've been occupied and they've been left traumatised with nothing. I wanted to go there and help. And somebody said, "Yeah, but you're going on your own. You're crazy." And I said, "Well, no, I've got people that I've spoke to online. I've found out, done research to try and check on them, and I trust them, and I'm going to go over and help them." So I went to various people. I travelled on my own. I flew on my own, caught trains, trams, buses. Absolutely terrified me. Even in England, when I'm doing that, I get really scared I'm going to get lost. But I had to push myself forward because their need was greater than mine. And unfortunately, I lost my brother 4 years ago, my sister 11 years before that,
Right.
and just before that, my parents.
Oh,
So
sorry to hear.
Thank you. And I thought, especially for my brother and sister, they were only young when they died, and I thought they can't do the things that I can do, and I'm going to do all the things I can, So um, I know that they would want me to go and help people. So I went over to Kharkiv, and there was obviously lots of places bombed out that were there. The tower block that I stayed in, this was here, and at the side here, there's a big hole through this one where a missile had come through.
Yeah.
Um, and it was scary. When the sirens went off, yeah, I wish in a way the sirens didn't go off. They're to warn you to go underground. But if you can't get underground, which a lot of people haven't got access to underground, you're just lying there, because it's usually at night anyway. You're lying there thinking, any minute, any minute. If it just hit you, you wouldn't know. You go. It's the worry, the constant stress of being there that affects so many people. So I decided that yes, we can give clothes and shoes and food and thermal stuff. I sent over to the front line for the soldiers because they were getting trench foot and all sorts, and they were freezing, especially last winter. So I got thermal socks and sleeping bags and gloves and all that, and got all that sent over. But the children's minds, everybody's minds in particular, is the stress of being there under constant threat of being bombed and killed. You try and get on with your everyday life. You try and do things. You laugh, but at the back of your mind all the time, you're thinking, any minute, it could be any minute. And I can come home from that. Well, touch wood, God willing. But these people couldn't. So I went over to Kharkiv and I met a gentleman called Jacob, and he was helping out in a subway where a lot of people had gone down, including quite a few children. And they were living on the floor in sleeping bags or on cardboard, whatever they could find to stay away from that, because they couldn't. A lot of them, the houses were bombed, or they had to move because there's a threat of bombing, and it's safer underground. And the children, they weren't really getting the education. They weren't playing with friends. They had to make friends amongst the community, and it became like a little community. And we went down, and Jacob had organised for this local club. They made burgers and chips for everybody. So we took them all down for the kids. They loved it, and for the adults as well. But then I dressed up as a dinosaur because I've got a big inflatable dinosaur suit that somebody kindly gave me. And I went down and let the children chase me, and they were pulling my tail and everything. And the squeals of delight and the smiles, it was like winning the lottery a million times over. It was wonderful. And when I come to leave, Jacob said, "You're not going to take the dinosaur with you, are you?" I could entertain the kids because he was there quite, well, he's there permanently. And he said, "Could you leave it?" I said, "Yeah, okay." So he's gone on to entertain the children with that. So I then got a unicorn costume as well. And I've already got Peppa Pig costume. So I took those over. Peppa Pig can only go by vehicle, which I did. It took 3 or 4 days to get there. And we went for just before Christmas. But the unicorn folds up small, so I can take that backwards and forwards. But I ended up leaving the unicorn there. And a great friend of mine, Rob, who's another volunteer he's in London, we're going again on the 1st of November. And he bought me another unicorn outfit because he said, "Well, you left the other one, so we'll get you another one." So we're going again on the 1st of November, and hopefully bringing some joy to. There's an orphanage in the school we're going to. We're going to help children learn English. We're going to do crafts, and we're going to dress up. Well, I'm going to dress up as a unicorn. And last time, like I said, it was Peppa Pig. But it's not just helping to fix people physically, to do the houses up, to give them the clothes and food and the basic needs. Like we always need um, phone chargers or the battery packs, because to keep in contact with family that have managed to escape, or even if they're in the same country but you can't get to them because of the bombing, you want to know your loved ones are safe. And if the infrastructure's been bombed, there's no electric, there's no gas, we take battery packs with us. And as soon as the electric comes on, we charge them as much as we can, and then we'll give the power banks out to people so that they can then use them to contact people. But the minds of the people, by giving a little bit of light relief, by doing something that makes them smile, I want to give children some happy memories, because at the moment all
Yeah,
they've got is the fear.
absolutely. So, just so you started to touch on that, what impact do you think it's having on the kids, on the people?
Um, well, the children, they love coming over and playing with the dinosaur and the unicorn. But even when I've not got that on, um, I'm trying to talk to the children, or I've got puppets, and I think it has a good impact on them because they're going away with a smile on their face, and I can hear them chattering to the friends, chattering to the mummies. Obviously, the daddies are all at the front line fighting and that, and I think it has had a good impact because other people have said to me, "Oh wow, the children look so happy." And it reminds me of years ago when I was doing voluntary work in Romania. I came back with photos, and people went, "Well, they don't look that bad off to me." I said, "Well, they've got clothes on that I've given them." I said, "I can show you photos if you want where I took before where they had like no shoes on and all great big holes in and it was full of mud and stuff. But I'd like to show you what they're like now." And somebody said, "Yeah, but they seem happy." I said, "Well, I don't want to take pictures of children crying. I want to take pictures of children laughing and smiling." And I know it pulls at the heartstrings if you have a child crying, people give more. We shouldn't have to cry out to to receive help, you know. So I know that the children over there, even though it's only a small time, whilst I'm there, hopefully I'm giving them some good memories, and that's more important to me than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't get to a point where people, kids in rags and
Mm.
like that to help them out. Um, I think I think it's incredible work that you're doing. And of course, people need the physical requirements, those basics as well. But people's minds
Mm.
as well, especially kids, right? Growing up, I just can't imagine what's going through there. It's just one thing is traumatic enough is your parent is not there, one of your parents is gone, let alone everything else. And they're going to have some understanding, right, of what's happening, of people being killed, bombs, and
Yeah,
that constant fear. So, it may seem like a simple act that you're doing, but as you said, yeah, it brings smiles, it brings joy. It's for a temporary moment. It's switching their brains off from
yeah,
everything that's happening, the trauma
yeah,
and things like that. And I think it did us
yeah,
some hope as well, right, to keep going. And it is going to be over one day, and then they've got their life to get on with, right? And
yeah,
they're gonna remember that. They're gonna remember that who's that who's that person who was dressed up as a dinosaur and Peppa Pig
yeah,
that came to help
yeah,
us. That
yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Um, yeah. So, and it's just really admirable that you keep going over as well, right? And essentially, you're going into a war zone. Of course, some parts of Ukraine are safer than others, but really, still you're still going into
yeah.
dangerous
I
risks.
mean, I know when I first went to Lviv, it was relatively safe. And then I went on to Kharkiv, then Kiev, then the next trip was Odessa. Um, got as far as Kherson, but they bombed a lot of infrastructure there, and I thought I won't be able to get back for work. I needed to get back, so I had to leave the group I was with and travel back by coach, well, little minibus through Moldova, through the border there, which was actually the funny story there because I had my little suitcase. I only ever travel with the backpack and a little cabin bag because I think, well, I'm not going to pay for a big bag. I can just whatever wash everything each day if I can, or take disposable clothes, whatever. I'll manage. And the group had left. They said we're all doing a secret Santa, and because I dressed up as I have a turkey outfit as well. So at Christmas, I dressed up as a big inflatable turkey, and they were laughing and saying, "You can't do that. People might want to eat you." And I was like, so for a joke, they got me a big inflatable
Yeah,
turkey, a plastic one, which is a dog's toy basically, with a
yeah.
pink spotty bikini on, and it squeaks. So I had to fold it up and squish it
That
into my suitcase.
that's look, that's quite the sight. I'm imagining now.
Yes, but then when I'm going through Moldova, we all had to get
Yeah,
out at the border, and the borders carry guns, and it's a little bit scary going through there, and
Yep.
nobody else seemed to speak English, and I was like, oh, I wish I could speak Ukrainian. There's one lady, she said, she nudged me because somebody was talking to me, and I kind of looked, didn't know what to say. She went, case. I said, so I opened the case, and the thing, the turkey went, like that as it came out, right? And the guy
Yeah,
grabbed
yeah, yeah.
his gun and pointed, and I'm like, no, it's turkey. And I'm actually
Oh my
flapping it
God.
like this. And at the
Yeah.
time, it was like, oh, he's got a gun at me because obviously this noise, he thought it was something, and I don't blame him,
Yeah.
So he pointed this gun, but there's me flapping going that, and everybody just started laughing. And I thought, what's this? So I kind of give
Oh,
them a few
why are they
minutes.
laughing? You're in a panic.
Yeah.
Do,
I'm like,
doing the
oh,
best turkey impression of your
yeah,
life. I
yeah. They
bet.
must have thought strange, silly English lady, pretending she's some kind of turkey. But it was funny. Yeah. So, but the places where it's been the more scary has been Kiev. When I was there was
Yeah.
in one night 40 missiles came over,
Yep.
and you could hear the sirens nearly all night. Somebody gave me an armor, body armor. And I said,
Yeah.
that won't protect me. I said, I've not got an helmet. And even if I did, I said, if a rocket comes through that wall, that's not going to save me. I said, to me, armour is for the front lines. If you're in distance of shooting, then you need armour. But not, to me personally, not when you're further back, because, like I say, if the only thing that could happen is if a bomb dropped on you. Maybe shrapnel it could save you from, but more than likely you're gone.
Yeah.
And that would scare the children. I know my children would be scared. Why have the people got that? Why have the people got armour on and a helmet? That's saying it's dangerous, with you. So my helmet and my armour is Peppa Pig or a dinosaur or whatever. Because, well, if you're near the front lines, that you could be shot, then you shouldn't really be there, to me. I know there are people that have to go out there, medics and stuff like that, to get the injured out and stuff like that. But not us volunteers that are going to try and help the civilians and stuff. We can send stuff over to the front line. Really, we're just making it worse, in my own personal opinion. I mean, I know on the news we've lost a couple of volunteers because they've been nearer to the front line, but they've been trying to do what's best, medics and stuff like that, trying to drag people out and save them. But it would be very, very, I don't know what the word would be, strange, stupid, chaotic, whatever. I don't know. It would be crazy of me to go right to the front lines to try and make people smile there, because there's a whole different, thing going on there.
It's like
Yeah,
you're going into the battlefield, right?
yeah. But yeah, when I'm there in
But,
Kiev and the bombs are coming over, and sometimes during the day as well,
oh wow.
and I have actually seen a missile going over, and you hold your breath. You're not sure where it's going to land, and you've been to places that have been bombed out, and you're taking everything that you can out for the people and helping them to rebuild and take the belongings out of it. And you think, well, it could happen again. It could hit you again. It's already hit once. So yeah, there's always that fear. Um, but like I
Wow.
said
I
before,
mean,
there's
what were when missiles, bombs are, and you just said you saw missiles going, and when they're raining down, what is going through your mind? I'd be absolutely terrified. But
yeah, I have. I
what
mean,
was
I haven't actually on a lot of the trips. The people that I've been with, they've seen certain things. I mean, we went to a place where in Bucha where a lot of the people had been under occupation, and we were, they were telling their stories to these two guys making a film about it, and my friend Nadia was translating. And I didn't understand what they were saying, but my heart was breaking because you could see the emotion, and you could tell what was happening. And then when Nadia told me about some of the things that they'd gone through, what the Russians had done to them,
mm,
raping children as young as 4 years old, and a lady of 94, pulling gold teeth out of people's mouths, torturing them with their hands tied behind the back and murdering them, and you're like, how can people do that? So I've seen things like that, but there's things I've seen that when I've been travelling on my own that I've not really spoke about much. Like I have seen the bombs raining down, And I was terrified, mainly because I was on my own. It's strange, if you're with somebody else, they can't protect you from a mishap, but at least you're there together as friends, your brothers, your sisters, don't matter who you are. And there's all nations over there helping. Every single country in the world is represented over there by one volunteer at least. So we're all one world, all trying to help. But yeah, some of the things I've seen, sorry, some of the things I've seen and heard, they will last in my memory forever, and I'd rather not have them memories. But I'll deal with them in my way. I'm older and I'll deal with them my own way. So long as I can make sure that I do my utmost to help people when I am there, and the children in particular, and the old and the vulnerable, then, you know, it's worth it. It's worth being scared. Half to death sometimes, you know what I mean? When I stood on the wings of that aeroplane, I was scared. But afterwards, it's like the feeling that you've done what's the right thing to do. You know, no matter if somebody came up to me now and said, "Look, here's £1 million trillion," it wouldn't be enough because there's so many things I'd like to do to help other people with it. And I have my own place to live. I have family. I have everything around me. I am so rich, not monetary wise. I'm comfortable, but I'm rich in the fact that I've got my family and my children, my grandchildren, and friends and stuff, and we're safe. You know, over there through no fault of their own, they're not safe, and they've got to live with that fear every day. So yeah, me being scared, it does go through your mind, and especially when you're on. Last time I was in Lviv, and I was on my own. Oh, I've lost you. Are you still there? Oh, I lost you then. Yeah, I think you've disappeared. I can't hear you.
Oh, I was
Are
on
you
mic.
back?
Sorry about that. I think it
Okay.
was a connection
Yeah.
issue. Sorry.
Okay. It's all right. Yeah, when I was the last time I went in, I think it's March, April this year. And not been for a while because I've had a lot of work to do, sorting houses and damp and all sorts of things. But when I was in Lviv last time, I was on my own. I'd stayed in a flat that one of the people that I'd met just online on one of the volunteer groups said I could stay there. And I went out and about, and I found things to do. I went to McDonald's and asked if I could dress as a unicorn outside and try and collect, and they said yeah, but on the day it poured down. But on another sunny day, I went to, there was a big park in Lviv, lots of children and mums about, and there was UNICEF tent there, and they were doing crafts and things for children. So I went, and I had to use my Google Translate, but I got through, and you know, we managed to understand each other. And I said, "Would you like a unicorn to come and play with the children?" And they said, "Yeah." And that was a wonderful, really warm day. I was a bit hot inside it, but the children loved it. The unicorn even went on the swings, you know, and things like that. I found groups queuing up for food, like a food bank, and they made a meal for everybody. And I said, "Can I help?" And I was helping to dish it out. Then they ran out of food, and there were still people queuing. So I gave them what money I'd taken off, because I was trying whatever I can make money wise. If I buy and sell things and stuff, I take money over. I'm always self funded. I pay for my own accommodation, travel, food, everything. But I try and take money over as well, and then buy things. So I gave them money for food. But I just had this funny feeling that I shouldn't be there this time, which really it kind of knocked me, because I thought, Angie, what's the problem? You're in Lviv and it's safer than the other
Yeah.
places. But the sirens went off at night time, and I thought, that's really strange. And on the groups, they were saying, we don't usually hear this. We had a few bombs right at the beginning, but because of the logistics, because of the anti-defence, usually things or anything sent from Russia can't get right over to Lviv without being shot down. Even in Kiev, I mean, Ukraine defence gets most of the bombs on the way, but there's obviously when they blow them up, there's still fallout from it. But some bombs do get through. And it's always the fear of, will it get through and will it bomb? But Lviv, I thought, ooh, why is the siren going off? I thought it wouldn't be able to get over here. They shot it down before they get here. Apparently, it came from the Black Sea, and they did actually bomb it. But in Lviv, three or 4 days after I left. But I should have gone. I should have left on the day that it was bombed, but I didn't because I had this funny feeling, like a sixth sense, that I needed to leave when I did. So I'd
Yeah.
contacted, I'd put in the group, is there any groups that want anybody, any children's groups that need a unicorn to come and say hello? And Wendy had contacted me again and said she's got two guys she knew doing similar things. They would go to the supermarket, spent £2,000 on food and toys, and went to an orphanage and to a refugee centre with all this food and stuff. And I said, "Can I come with you?" So I left and went with them, and then they were leaving that day. That next day, and I said, "Right, I'm coming with you. I know it's 3 days earlier than my flight, but I'm coming with you. I don't know why, but I know I've got to leave." So I left and I went over to Poland, and I had to wait a couple of days for my flight, but and stay over there. But had I not left when I did, I might have been caught up because a friend of mine, Mo, that I'd met in Lviv, she was in a restaurant that got hit that night. Luckily, she wasn't badly hurt, but I could have been there. And it was a bit spooky because when I looked at some of the pictures that people send photos of what's going on, and there was bombs, a two-counter building, and all these cars covered in dust and whatnot, and damaged. And on the wall was the number of that block. Now it wasn't my block because I think I lived further away from that, but I could have walked down that street when it had happened. But on the wall was the number 66. And when my brother passed away 4 years ago, he used to be a big, big football fan of Bolton Wanderers. And when he played, and he played a really good game, his number was 66 because he was born in 1966. And at his funeral, we had fans from all different Man United, Man City, it didn't matter. They all wore Bolton Wanderers top with 66 on the back. And on this wall in the Viv, where I could have been when them bombs landed, was number 66. So I'd like to think my brother Ozzy was keeping an
Wow.
eye out for me.
That's when you first saw that, you must have been thinking like shocked, I think.
Yeah. I mean, people say it's
Yeah,
coincidence, but there's lots of things that happen, and I think that's my brother. He's saying, I'm looking out
it's yeah coincidences or
for you.
signs
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
of things that you see. Um, I mean, I just can't. I'm a bit speechless, really, about the stories and things that you just shared, and I just cannot imagine. I have done some previous aid work, but it was kind of in a very safe environment. You're going in into war zones, really, and the stories that you shared. Um, my personal experience when I've gone out for a couple of months, it was on and off over kind of a 3 month period. And when I came back, it felt like I had that kind of secondary trauma.
Mm.
And in a way, at the time, I felt a bit silly. I kind of a little bit still feel a bit silly because it's not happened to me.
Mm.
It's how could you be How can I was telling myself, how can you be traumatized? You're
Mm.
just going over to deliver some aid and this and that. But um, like I said, similar to yourself, I sat down with loads of families, like 1,000 plus families, interacting with them, and they didn't have to even say anything. I saw what's happened to them
Yeah.
and the horrors that they've gone through. I sat down and spoke with them as well, and each time you're speaking with a family, that has an impact. It's like you absorb. It's
Mm.
like you're absorbing a little bit of what they've gone through. So I came back, like in a state of like post-traumatic
Yeah.
stress, or what's that? Yeah,
Yeah.
PTSD,
PTSD.
I think they call it.
Yeah.
And for like a couple of months, I was like a zombie state. I was like switched off. I was doing stuff physically and this and that, going to work and getting on with life and that. But your mind is not there. That's what I found. And my people at work, my manager would comment, and family and that. It was only after, but once you're in that mode,
Yeah.
you don't realize you're in that mode. It's afterwards when you reflect a bit as well. So it was really,
Yeah.
for me personally, it was so tough, and it was so tough
Yeah.
trying to go back because there's this it's so much pain
Mm.
and horrific trauma of people that you see. What? what was it like for you coming back
Um,
and
well,
yeah,
I know when I've come back the first few times, I mean, physically, I was a wreck because my hands were raw with cooking and washing and whatnot for 40 people every week, every day. But mentally, I did start suffering. Um, but I find that my acting helps because I don't want to come home. I'll tell people what's happened, but I do want to come home and start crying and telling people, oh, it was this and it was that, because that impacts them as well. So I want to kind of save them from going through what I've been through and other people that's over there. So my acting is kind of a therapy because I can go in front of a camera and I'm not me anymore. And especially if they need someone to play an emotional part. For example, a lady who was on Facebook, I met her and just talking to her, and she's called Ruth, and she's got this a Facebook group called Joel's Goals. And unfortunately, her son Joel was bullied at school, and his boyfriend took pictures of him naked, which kids these days do. It's crazy. Why do they do it? But oh well, I thought he loved me, and they split up, and he put them all over Facebook, all over social media, and Joe couldn't cope with it, so he killed himself. So they're making a film to help children deal with bullying at school, and an app to go in all senior schools all over the UK. And it's about Joel's story. And she's asked me if I would play her, Ruth, Joel's mum. And I said I'd be honoured. And we had a meeting last week, and we're going to be filming when I come back from because I'm coming back on the 23rd from Ukraine, 23rd of November. So we're going to be filming 25th, 26th. And when I got the script, I said to her, I don't want to play it as an actress, and I don't want to play it as me, and use my although I do use what I've been through and seen to cry to portray it. I said, but I want a different spin on it, as in, yes, I can cry and feel the emotion, but I want it to be how you would feel. Because if she's going to cry, then I'd cry. If she wasn't going to, if she was strong, and didn't cry, then I want to do that. And she said, oh, yes, I would cry. And I said, that's good that you can. I can't. I can't cry in front of my family. I can cry on stage. I can cry in front of the camera when I'm being someone else. And occasionally it gets me, like a few moments ago when and I had to stop it. But when I'm actually playing a character and they say, right, such things happen, like, even if it's like, oh, the cat's got run over, which is just as bad as, because cats are still our family as well, or the dog or whatever. Anything, I stood on a beetle, a spider, you need to cry for it. And Angie can cry, but it's not Angie crying, it's the character. So it helps me that way. And also I write a lot of poems and stories, and I can take a situation that's happened and put it all into a poem, and it really does move people because I could do funny ones, but a lot of them are about true life of what I've seen, and they're true stories. So those poems I'm trying to get together and put into a book, and all proceeds from the book would then go to help Ukraine. Because most of the stories about that. So if you know any publishers, let me know. Um, but yeah,
amazing. That
that's
sounds
how
like a great idea. Yeah.
that's how I cope with it by that. And would you believe going to bingo? My son thinks it's funny. He said, "You're always at bingo," and I said, "Yeah, if I win any tickets, free tickets, I'll go." So it doesn't actually cost me anything. I only go when I've got like the free tickets, and there's a strip of 6 books, so you've got 1 to 90. And
Yeah.
most people play an electronic bead that they call, so they just comes up, they press a button and shout when it goes. I play 2 lots. Sometimes I play 3 lots, all by hand. So I've got 1 to 93 times. So it's 4 and 5, 45, 3 and 5, 35, and I'm doing that. And I never miss numbers. And in between, I'm writing poems or playing games on my phone because that
Yeah.
zones me out. I have no room. I'm that filled with numbers. I have no room for anything else. And that's my way of going, get it out, get it out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just overthink it and think it. Um, and
Yeah.
my son says it's an excuse for going bingo, but it's not. It does help.
It can be. I just can't. I can't imagine in some ways, and other ways I just can't imagine because I've not been through that experience. But yeah, it can be overwhelming, right? And I just really have to commend you on keeping going back again and again. I had to I had to I had to stop because I just could not handle it. I'm not that, I guess, brave enough to keep going back that trauma. So I kind of defaulted to helping from the UK
But
with fundraising and things.
that's just as important. And somebody
Mm,
said, "Well, how come you can go and other people can't?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know what it is. Some people can, some can't. But it doesn't mean that anything that anybody else does is any less important, because like
yeah.
this lady who she works in a church, and she sent me some crochet teddy bears. Now, if we give our children a little crochet teddy bear, if they were little, they'd think it was lovely. But if you were like 10, 11, 12, you'd be like, no, I want a PlayStation, I want an Xbox, whatever. You know, the kids in the UK wouldn't they? I'm sure. How old are your children?
Mm.
Would they want your
Oh,
children?
they're still on Teddy mode.
Yeah,
They're 1 and 2,
yeah. But when they're
so
little,
they're
it's
the
not
little
that.
fire engines.
They're cuddly, and
Yeah.
and they don't have great big expectations. But we had all these little knitted crocheted teddies, and at the refugee centre there was children from 2 years, and there was a baby, and then there's 2 years, all the way up to a young lad who was 17. And I put all the toys down, and I thought, oh, I've got mainly toys for younger, middle-aged, younger, whatnot. I've got nothing for this 17-year-old, because they usually want PlayStations and the game consoles and whatnot. And they went and chose. I said, just help yourselves. And they were so polite, they just chose one present. But I said, if you want a cuddly as well, you can have a cuddly. And they all chose a cuddly first. And they went for the little
Yeah.
crochet ones. And I've got a video where the children are all stood around, including the 17-year-old young boy. And they're all holding the little teddies. And I said, can you tell me what you've called your teddy? And one little girl says, my teddy's called Grandpa. Because she'd learned that little bit of English just to say that especially. Another little girl, my teddy's called Ilana. And when we got to the 17-year-old, he said, my teddy's called Angie. And it was like, wow. And I said, you've called your teddy after me? And he said, yeah, because I'll always remember how kind you were. And little
Yeah.
things like that. So it doesn't matter whether you're on the front line as a medic, fighting, taking over, going to a war zone, or staying at home and helping. Excuse me. It's it's just as important
Yeah.
as
It's
you do.
everyone can make a contribution, right? People in the UK could be campaigning, sharing their voice,
Yeah.
fundraising. So many different ways to get involved, right? So as long as we're all heading towards that same direction, it's all going to be count for something. And imagine how everyone gets involved. Oh, that's okay.
I get dry when I've been talking a lot.
No worries. Oh, take your time. Have some
I'll
water
let
if you
you do
like.
some talking.
No worries. Um, yeah. Imagine if everyone did even a small contribution, a small step, but that collective effort would, it would be enormous. That
Yeah.
enormous, let's say people put pressure on the situation, or it's a fundraising thing.
Mm,
Everyone chips in, or does a certain action to fundraise.
mm.
You'd solve half the world's problems in it.
Well,
It takes that action. It takes being proactive to support. Um, so what is it that drives you, Angie, to help people in general?
um,
What makes you get up?
because it's the right thing to do, and because I can't help but care. I mean, my mum and dad, they call me Angela. Apparently, it means angel. Whether that's anything to do with it, I don't know. I don't feel like an angel. I can be a little devil when I want. You should see some of the parts I've played in films, horror and all sorts of stuff. Um, but I don't know. I've just always had this since being a little girl. When people have seen something and they've walked past it, it's nothing to do with me. It is. It's to do with all of us. Because if somebody needs help,
Mm,
you've got to help them, and that's why. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And what would be your kind of key key advice that you could give for how people could get involved? And it doesn't
um,
have to be exactly what you did, but
mm.
what ways
Well,
can people get
people have
involved with
said
volunteering?
before, oh, well, we want to contribute financially. there are groups out there that you can, but do a bit of research, because there are groups that look like they're doing lots and lots and lots, but also there's a lot of cream going off the top. So I'm not saying.
Yeah. Is somebody calling you?
Yes, yes, my son. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah,
That's okay.
my son's trying to
Okay.
get hold of me because it's
My
4
wife
o'clock.
called me earlier.
Yeah.
That was the technical issue. The technical issue was my wife calling.
Well,
So
I put do
finishing
not
work.
disturb on, and it just come off then. And I was like, why is it come off now? And then I thought, oh, nobody will ring. And then he's just, yeah, it almost made me. So
Yeah,
I have to go.
I need to warn my wife next time.
Yeah,
She's on
I'll
my
wait.
kind of important list,
Yeah,
VIP list, so
yeah,
she gets through regardless.
yeah.
No
So
worries,
yeah,
no worries.
I'll have to go soon. But yeah, just to sum it up, if yeah, there
Mm.
are some good charities there, but do some checking, go online, see what they're doing, before you donate, if you want to donate. But also, if you know a group that's going over, I mean, there's somebody in Huddersfield, I know for a fact have trucks and whatnot. I can find links for you.
Mm.
And Wendy, who goes, she obviously fundraises. I had a fundraiser myself, but I thought, well, it's daft. We're both in the same
Yeah,
village. I was both raising, so whatever I raised, I was giving
yeah,
to
yeah,
Wendy anyway, because she takes it over. I personally, when I go over, if anybody gives me money, like a couple of people have said, there's £20 when you go over, I take the money with me and I buy stuff over there
mm.
for them. So if people wanted to help that way, they know I will show pictures. Whenever I come back, I show photos of all the stuff that I've given out, so that people know, the receipts and everything, because there are
Yeah,
so many people that will take advantage of it. And
yeah, yeah,
just to show how honest I am, that I would never take a penny. In fact, I
yeah.
think looking back, it's cost about £5,000 so far out my own money, because the flights
Oh wow.
and whatnot, and I'm like buying things like all the thermal socks. Go Outdoors is really, really good. They gave me their staff discount so that I could get lots more,
All right.
sleeping bags and that. But
Ah, that's
thank
handy.
you for having me on your show as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been incredible, but quite emotional episode of the podcast. This one certainly, and really privileged to have you on and share your story. And hopefully, I can do a great job in sharing it as well. It's a yeah, absolute privilege to speak
Thank
with you.
you, and you.
And there's lessons there to be learned, um, and messages there for people to get involved
Yeah,
as well. You're gonna make a big difference and be that person that maybe you look around and people are not doing anything. You be that person.
mm.
You be that Angie of your village, of your story, and it's not just going to be that the people that you go off and support. You're going to make a difference and bring other people along,
Well, we all
just
try.
like you have, Angie. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. It's been a amazing to have you on,
Thank you.
and we'll wish you luck on your continuing amazing work that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.